Welcome to Entree Real Estate, where we turn the complexities of real estate into clear, actionable steps for building generational wealth. I've invested into different types of real estate all over the United States, and I run a thriving real estate fund. Join me as we document the entrepreneurial journey of scaling businesses and transforming the lives of tens of thousands of people around the world. Let's turn your real estate dreams into reality. Buckle up, because this is the start of something truly incredible. My name is Devin Robinson, and welcome to Entree Real Estate. All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome to this episode of the Entree Real Estate Podcast. I got to tell you, I'm extremely excited for today's guest because I met James at the Collective Genius Mastermind. And when I met James, I had no idea who he was or what he did, but I was just extremely impressed by the way that he wanted to just be present with people, which I think in this day and age is a lost art in a lot of ways. Just being present. You know, we've got our phones, we've got technology. He was very present and he was interested in me. And one saying that I like to have is, people that are interested or interesting. And so I was really fascinated in being able to get together with him and chat with him. And then we grew this relationship and I realized just how awesome of a guy he was, the way he does love to serve people, create really solid communities and friendships that just, that are more than just surface level, but that create really awesome partnerships. And so I really value that about him. And so I'm just excited to have him here. I'm excited about our friendship. I'm excited because he's newly engaged as well. Let's go. So I'm just happy. Oh, and just for a little context, we are here in a flip that his company funds. So pretty excited about that as well. So thank you, James. I appreciate that.
You know what? I appreciate you. So first of all, really appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate our friendship. So we got to hang out more often. I know I live in Austin. You live in Charlotte, but man, you're great for my self-esteem. So we should do this a little bit more often.
We will then. We will. Well, look, listen, when we go to Top Golf, your golf game is not great for my self-esteem, but that's okay because golfing with you is always a good time. So
another reason we should hang out more, because my golf game is not that great. So that makes me feel
well,
good.
He's still pretty damn good. James, I'm thankful that you're here, man. I'm excited that you're here in Durham for a meetup. I know you have some other clients down here, which is really cool, but before we even dive into that, I'd love to hear just for you, man, because this is an entrepreneurial podcast when it comes to real estate. And I know a lot of your entrepreneurial journey has been in the finance section of it. And so I'd love to hear just even a little bit more about that and that journey for you that's gotten you to where you are today. Because even with Renovo, one thing that I'm just like incredibly impressed is you look like a young guy. I don't know how young you really are, but you look like a young guy. And you've done pretty well at this point. And it's a really awesome company that you've been a part of, building to where it is, which is cool on some level. And so I just would love to hear a little bit more about that. And I know that's long, but would love to just to go.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I appreciate that. Entrepreneurship has been a big focus of mine for a long time. You might not even know this, but I got my master's in entrepreneurship as a discipline or a focus.
Oh, nice. I have a quick question.
Shoot.
So funny story. There was a quarterback at UNC Charlotte, and he comes to me, and I go, "Hey, what are you going to do after college?" And he goes, "Well, I'm going to go to the combine." And I said, "Well, what are you going to do after that?" And he said, "I want to go to get my master's in entrepreneurship." And I said, "Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. You should just go and work for somebody for free." But you just got a master's in entrepreneurship. So, and it seemed to have worked out well for you, though.
It did. It was a great experience, and I was a college athlete as well. I played basketball at a Division II school in Austin called St. Edward's University, and I actually had a year of eligibility left when I graduated with my finance degree. So I got my MBA while still playing, which was really cool.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, so it was kind of like another degree for basically for free. Was hard to pass up. And I always had, an aspiration to be an entrepreneur. So it was really great. I mean, it's just a little bit of a different spin on all the normal MBA stuff. But anyway, it's just been a part of my, kind of background that has, I think, kind of led me to where I'm at today. And, I got started in this business, which is the real estate investor finance business, actually with a good friend of mine from grad school. Yeah. So, so was able to get my MBA for free while playing basketball, which was awesome. And, so it's just always been kind of a part of my journey and sort of in the background for me, that I think has kind of led me sort of where I'm at. But, getting into, so how I got into this business, I started working at a pretty small regional lender, based out of Austin, Texas. And the COO of that company was a guy I went to grad school with. So he and I had become good friends. And anyway, it just was an opportunity for me to do something a little bit different. And I was excited to join something that was, kind of a startup. And, so I joined that firm and really kind of started primarily working with the investors that were putting money into, this business that we would then lend out, right, to real estate investors. And so I dealt with the investors. I raised a lot of the capital and, a lot of the things that go along with that. And that business grew significantly and it was really fun. We had a lot of fun doing that. And then we kind of got to a point where the business was sort of, it was difficult for us to sort of grow any further because of some constraints, like as far as the way the capital was structured, et cetera. And I won't bore you with that. But
stuff is extremely fascinating to me, though, this season.
It'd be a whole other podcast. I'm happy to do that with you for sure. But, at the end of the day, I think we really just I thought we needed a partner that could kind of plug us into more institutional capital because the demand, the investor demand was there for sure. And we were focused on Texas, which Texas has been growing like crazy for a long time. And
I actually heard a statistic and it said that Texas has more multifamily actually just the DFW area has more multifamily apartments than the rest of the country combined.
That is a wild stat if that's true, but I would believe it because Dallas is full of apartments.
It was crazy. Like that's what it may have been like more than anywhere else in the country, but it was like, holy smokes, that's a lot. Really quickly though, I do want to come back and like almost double click on like a little season of your life, if that's okay. Because I think a lot of people that are watching this are entrepreneurs in the real estate journey, and capital is such a big part of that. Building that capital, establishing how to do that. And it sounded like you were one of the main leaders to building the capital for that company. And so, and I don't know if you've read Steve Schwartzman's book, Whatever It Takes, but and he is the founder of Blackstone. So, and as I read that, like just hearing the journey of raising capital wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be when you try to bring the big institutional stuff. But what was that journey like for you, like raising capital? Were you traveling around or was it like friends and family? But at that point, it's kind of past friends and family. You're like into marketing and probably like, and this is where, okay, maybe like a 506C because now you're marketing to only accredited investors and stuff like that. And so what was that journey like for you as you began to build the skills to raising capital?
Yeah, that's a great question and a lot to unpack, but it's my journey is probably fairly interesting because I kind of did that at a bunch of different levels, right? So when I first started at that firm, we were raising money from individual investors, primarily retirees that had big 401ks, and they were investing through a self-directed IRA.
Oh, we could talk. Oh, yeah. I love.
Yeah, it was a lot of that, and it was a lot of cash as well. But like probably a good portion of self-directed IRA money, and in that version, and keep in mind this is 2013, 2014, 2015. Like the institutional money had not really found the single family investor lending space, right? Those are very small loans for somebody that's trying to deploy billions of dollars. It's like you have to underwrite and understand thousands of loans, and there were different ways to put that money to work. So we worked with a lot of individual investors, which was an awesome opportunity for those individuals to access the opportunities within the real estate market. And so there was a lot of demand, right? We were offering, double-digit returns at a time where that was not common in most investment vehicles. And so it was a really great opportunity to sort of serve that need. But it was very hands-on, one-on-one. And I spent a lot of time with individual investors talking about, how to do this correctly.
So you would essentially in that process, walk them through how to find a custodian to move their regular traditional IRA to a self-directed and kind of do all of that stuff. Cause that's a tedious process to be able to do, to find the custodian, to match them up, and then to get them to move their money to your fund.
It is. Yeah. And at the beginning, we were not using a fund. So it was even more complicated because people were investing in a particular project. So it was, so
this is exactly how everybody else did, like regular people that essentially go from like wholesaling to fix and flipping. This is how they're doing it. And this is kind of like the roadmap. Listen up. This is the roadmap for building and raising capital from just regular people that have an IRA, like a traditional IRA.
That's right. Yeah, we were doing what's called syndications. So every loan was an individual investment, and then we would fractionalize the first deed of like the first lien on that deed for as many people as we needed to put in it. So if it was a $400,000 loan, I might have 4 individual investors take 100,000, and they each own 25% of that lien.
Okay, yeah, we got to talk about this at another time, because like, unless you create the syndication for that property, you're getting close to securities.
Yeah, so it was, and I am not an attorney.
This is not financial advice.
I am not an attorney, and absolutely, but and that was also a different time. So like, and this was in Texas, right? So
anything goes.
But securities law is real, and if you are doing this, I could not stress more strongly that you consult a very experienced attorney, because it is, you can get yourself, in a world of hurt pretty quickly if you're not paying attention and getting.
Yeah, we won't put more than 2 people like on the property, but we're not creating a syndication. We're just using them as like lien holders on the property.
Yeah, and there's some technical stuff in there as to why this was not technically a security, but that is effectively what we were doing. Is people were taking a fractionalized ownership of a lien on a property, and we did that on a deal by deal basis. So a lot of my role was, once we worked with an investor and got them comfortable with the process and all of that, I would actually work with we would have a loan that our sales team would originate. Hey, this loan is structured, it's ready to go. And then I would get on the phone with our investors, people that I know had capital that was ready to be deployed. And I would explain and walk them through the details of a particular loan, all the way down to the cabinets and the finishes and, the countertops and all of those things. And then they would make a decision of whether they wanted to put money into that deal and how much. And then I would get a little bit of, somebody would say, oh, I'll put 100,000 in that. Great. Pick up the phone. I gotta find another 200,000 or 300,000 before this loan has to close, which could be in a matter of days. And that was a really exhilarating thing to do. And then the business just took off, and we were doing so many loans that it became, in some cases, an overwhelmingly difficult thing to do. And so that's when, we started to switch to the fund model. And I think I structured our first fund. We did it kind of as a test. And I was really, because we had kind of a system that our investor base really understood, we didn't want to upset the apple cart, if you will, and confuse people if it wasn't the right move. So I kind of did that as a side project, and I raised, I don't know, $10 million or so into this fund. And we started lending out of it. It worked great. And then we basically converted the entire business over to funds, and they were 506Cs, and it was all accredited investors and all of that stuff. And that's when we got into the securities world. And we raised, when I left, I think we probably had raised, I don't know, $180 million or something like that, somewhere 150. So it was a lot of money. But the business had really evolved, right? An institutional kind of Wall Street money had found our little niche in search of yield. They had finally gotten to our space, and once Wall Street once somebody figures it out, then everybody sort of jumps in, and then so there were other capital that was now available outside of individual investors, which so I kind of launched our capital markets division, and we started selling loans to Wall Street. And that's kind of that was the next phase of growth. And then we just sort of got to a point where it was hard to continue to scale without direct access to big institutional money. And that's kind of how I got to Renovo. I had been introduced to Kevin, who's the founder, Kevin Werner, founder and CEO of Renovo. And a mutual investor had introduced us. And I just really resonated with him when we had what was supposed to be a 30-minute coffee turned into like 2 hours at a hotel in Dallas. And so we really just kind of hit it off. And there was nothing to do at that moment. But then like 2 years later, we kind of got to this inflection point in the other business. And I was like, hey, I think we should really entertain maybe selling part of the company to get access to that type of money. I knew Kevin had it, and he was my first phone call. And we started a process of Renovo purchasing a portion of the firm I was at. We did that for like 18 months, and it ended up not culminating in a deal, but I really got an opportunity to see everything there is to see at Renovo. It was the due diligence process is very intensive, and we each had to, kind of give each other the books, and, I got a chance to really see how Renovo was built. And that for me was very eye-opening. And I felt like Renovo was probably the strongest, it had the best foundation of any lending company that I had been aware of and exposed to. And I had been exposed to quite a few. So it really opened my eyes, like, man, this company is really well put together. And yet they were still only operating in Chicago and had so much room to grow. And so Kevin and I just struck up a conversation after the deal ended up not working. And, we kind of invented the job that I do now together, which I think says a lot about Kevin and our organization. It's really all about people. And then, hey, let's figure out if we can kind of, if we have a need and you have a skill that fits that need, and, we're willing to be creative. And so that's how I kind of got the job that I have. And it's been an amazing adventure ever since.
Nice. And so I love that journey because it sounds like, now without the wholesaling and the fix and flip part, like it sounds like a very typical capital raising beginning, right? Like you raised some capitals from some people with money in a 401k, but then you took it to another level where you began to grow that. You grew it to 10 million, which is incredible. I think a lot of people would dream to have a 10 million where they can actually be able to deploy on different assets. And then you grew that to another level where it sounds like, and I don't know, like then you started lending that money out to other people. And then kind of went into now Renovo, which is cool. And what really drew you in, like because I think more of like, what drew your character to that to the character of that company, because as an entrepreneur, you literally went to college for entrepreneurship. It really takes a lot for you to join another company if your dream is to have your own company, right? Like, and I think now, sorry to go on this little bit of a tangent, but like, I do think that the term entrepreneurship is wildly overused in our culture. And most people that say that they are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs probably do much better being number 3 or number 5 at a company, making a lot more than working instead of working a 9 to 5, they work a 24/7 and not make as much money. And so like, I think they'll enjoy that a lot more. So for you though, with that entrepreneur spirit, what really drew you in to be like, okay, I could work for this company?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And I love this subject because it is so important to kind of why I love what I do and who I work with. Kevin, for anyone who's met him, I think, would agree. Kevin has an incredible just way about him. He's incredibly authentic. And that was what immediately in that first coffee, that's what drew me in and made me stay in touch with him when I really didn't have a lot of reason to stay in touch with him. I really like this guy. I don't know what it is. At the time, I couldn't really put my finger on it, but he's an incredibly authentic, genuine person. And he has kind of this might sound weird, but he has very little ego. And, most people who are in his seat, and at that time, Renovo was much smaller than we are now, but still very successful company. You deal with a lot of ego, a lot of personality, but oftentimes it's, there's a big ego there. And some people conflate the business and the success with their own kind of thing. Right. And Kevin just always from day one, from meeting him, was always just genuinely passionate about building a great company. And it really didn't have anything to do with him. He wasn't self-promotional. It wasn't about him. It was about this thing that we're building together. And I just resonated with that selflessness, if you will, and real focus on the mission and the purpose, outside of him kind of promoting, hey, I'm a big shot, I'm a successful guy. Which is fine. Some people, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I am much more like Kevin, right? It's not about me. I want to be a part of something. And the entrepreneurial and entrepreneurship conversation that you were, kind of just alluding to, I agree. It can be overused, but what I'm attracted to is the entrepreneurial spirit of a business, right? It doesn't have to be my business. I don't need to be the guy that calls every shot, but I do enjoy working in a place that is open to, that has an entrepreneurial vibe to it. Right. And that's when things are going crazy, it's like, being willing to pivot and to, the the nimbleness of working in versus a big corporation that just, it takes a million approvals to do anything. And that bureaucracy was not interesting to me. And I was more than happy to, not have a normal 9-to-5 job if I was working for something that I really believed in. And Renovo was something I really believed in, to the extent that, like, when Kevin told me, hey, this means we would need you to move to Chicago, it was like, you could tell me to move to Mars, man. I'll go anywhere you want, because I believe in this quite a bit. And so I did make that move, and it was a really great. I mean, I can't imagine my life if I hadn't done that.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned a couple things that are core values for us: transparency, selflessness, those things like that. And what I love about Kevin is it sounds like every leadership book that you read, he is, right? Like Leaders Eat Last, this idea of him, like, not even necessarily having the back road, sitting in the middle, somebody else is in the front, like he's kind of helping direct it, but it's not just him. It's not about him, which is really cool. And so in that allows people to feel ownership over it. And that allows people to feel really passionate and follow along on the mission and the vision of the company. And so I remember you telling me a story of, Renovo is a big deal though. Like, y'all have a big building in Chicago, and it sounds like the culture is probably really cool and really incredible, but also COVID was a hard time. So what was it like when you joined? Because it sounds like you even started that journey in 2015, which almost led into kind of COVID. And so what was it like transitioning through that?
Yeah. So it was wild. I joined Renovo in 2019. So
Right before.
So I moved to Chicago July 4th weekend of 2019. And we were in we had a really nice office space, but it was in a very large building downtown Chicago, in the Loop, if you're familiar, right across the street from what is now the Willis Tower, former Sears Tower. So it's in the heart of the financial district, right? So I was, everybody's in the office, right? That was pre-COVID, so that was normal. And it was great. And the culture at Renovo is an amazing culture. I mean, it's based out of Chicago. The Midwest sort of blue collar work ethic and show up and do the little things is very much a part of our culture. And so it was amazing to and I had already met a lot of these people through that M&A process that we tried to do. So it was very familiar for me, but it was great. We things were going, we started, I was hired to basically help figure out how to take the business from being a Chicago only lender to a national platform. That was
Which, how many are you in now?
So we're in probably 21 different U.S. markets with a local presence, nice. Right? That's a major thing for us, is we really want to have a local presence, a local loan officer who's an expert in that market. And so that's a big part of it, right? We want to be able to offer expertise and that knowledge, but also a human relationship, which is super important. And so anyway, we didn't know what that model was going to look like, but I joined the firm. We started working on it for like 6 months. We worked on how we were going to do this, and we landed on this model of hiring really talented, experienced loan officers in a particular geography, and then we would build a business around them basically from scratch. So it's not the fastest way to scale when you're when you're putting your entrepreneur hat on, but for us it was the right way, and it was the way that we could build what we believe is going to be a very sustainable long-term business. We bring a very long-term mentality to the business, and I think that our customers feel that in many ways. But that was core to our model. We worked on that, and in December we made the decision to go forward with this local branch strategy.
December 2019.
And we made our first hire. He started in January to open our Dallas office, and we were all excited. And at that time we had been growing quite a bit, and so we had taken a new office space at a higher floor in the same building, but a really swanky, 180-degree views of downtown Chicago and Lake Michigan, and it was really amazing. And we moved in on March 1st, 2020.
March. That's a good time to do that.
That was our move-in date. And then 2 weeks later, we sent everyone home, and it's really never been the same. However, we do have a lot of people that work out of the office. It is a really amazing place, and it's great. But yeah, the timing was pretty funny, and I'm certain that our CFO Dan McLaughlin was not happy.
I'm sure. I was actually going to say like, wow, I'm surprised you were able to keep it and continue to rent it.
Well, fortunately for us, like COVID, and I think this has been the case that ever since I've known of Renovo, is that our business actually it really shows its strength in moments when things are not going very well. In other words, like when the market's booming and there's plenty of money floating around, like all the lenders in the space are doing well, and it's harder for us to stand out. When things go sideways and other people and everyone starts to become affected, that's when we really show our strength. And so we actually grew tremendously during COVID. It was a big catalyst for us, oddly. And we were in a very fortunate position. We were able to continue to fund loans. We never stopped lending during that whole period, and we were able to serve our clients, the ones that had deals that made sense, right? I mean, there were a lot of conversations of like, are you sure you want to do this deal? But where it made sense, we were there for our customers, and we were able to gain some good market share, and the new offices that we were building were able to get traction because a lot of our competitors were simply not able to fund deals. And so it gave us a nice boost and a runway to kind of get off the ground. And then that was kind of the same thing, that happened, as well, like in the recent kind of when the rates went through the roof last year and things got really crazy, it kind of, again, gave us an opportunity to show our strength. And, so our business model is to just continue to be here. And then when there will be moments that will allow us to really, step forward and grow. And then there will be moments where, we have to keep chugging along and, but I think by and large, the business is extremely strong and yeah.
Well, that sounds incredible because one thing that I've learned to really like about you guys is, yes, your rates are still very competitive, but also you have just an incredible staff, right? Like I've gotten to know Scott. I've really enjoyed getting to know him. I'm just chatting through the options that we do have, talking about the properties that we're working on, things like that. But I've also gotten to really know you, and I'm a big like jockey, not the horse guy. Like I'm always going to bet on the jockey and not the horse. And it sounds like that's how your company is created. It's created for jockeys to succeed, and then the vehicle is just going to get there. But you also do a really great job of serving the community by sticking really strong to your core values and what you say you're going to do. I think it'd be really easy to just say, oh, we're just going to move into a bunch of markets regardless if we don't have a physical presence there. But you stood strong on that. And I'm very curious, like at that level where scale is kind of, it could be easy because you've got capital to scale. Is it hard to make sure that you stick your flag in something and then like stand strong to that, because it could be easy to just go all over the place. But if it doesn't make sense for you and your model, like what was that like sticking to that? And how was that received within the company too? Like within people who maybe wanted to scale faster that were maybe higher up in the company. Like what was that like?
That's an awesome question. I love that. I gotta be honest. It hasn't been that hard. It hasn't been difficult. And the reason is because I think and this is definitely something that we get directly from Kevin and his leadership, is that we have a clarity of purpose, right? We know what we're trying to build.
What is the purpose?
The purpose is
mission statement.
Well, we have a mission statement that I probably can't recite to you word for word right now, but
okay.
But I will tell you the purpose is to build a great long-term sustainable lending company. If you follow the lending business and the mortgage business, be it consumer mortgages or what we do, which is business purpose investor lending, there are many, many examples of companies that shot through the moon, like, amazing growth and success, and then were just gone because they grew what was an unsustainable business because they tried to grow too quickly to take advantage of a moment. We are not at Renovo trying to take advantage of a moment or a particular, trade, if you will. We're here to build a really great company that will be here for a long, long time. We're not trying to sell this company. We're not, we want to do this forever. This is what Kevin is passionate about doing. And I think everybody who is at every level of our company has bought into that model. So we are not in a hurry. It's not a race. Like I said, we bring a long-term mentality to the business. And so we want to make decisions that will benefit not just right now. So, and I think that translates to our client because we're not about the transaction, right? We're not about like, hey, we need to grab as many transactions as we can, and that's how we make money. Yes, we get paid when we close loan transactions, right? But what we like to say at Renovo is that we're not in the loan transaction business. We're in the borrower recruiting business. It's all about working with the right clients that also have a long-term mentality, looking to grow a business and partnering with them to really, and diving in with them to help them build the business of their dreams. And, to the extent that we can be, accretive or helpful in that goal. And we're not going to be the right lender for every borrower, and we're not going to be the right lender for every deal. And that's okay. We're okay with that. We want to work with clients that really are looking to build something solid. And we want to work with clients that have a need that we can fill. And so that's our process, is just trying to understand that. It's not about, hey, I need to sell this person on taking a loan from me. It's about finding out, is this the right fit? And can we add value to what they're doing? And if we can, then maybe we should work together. Now, of course, in order to be successful, we've got to deliver, right? That all sounds great, but if you can't deliver and if you don't have competitive products and pricing and all those other things, like the execution is incredibly important. So that is a given. And I think that's what has been amazing about our journey at Renovo, is that through all the growth, and I think we grew from 2020 to 2021, I think we grew like 5x, and in terms of loan volume. And then we doubled that last year and did, I think $1.5 billion in loans, nationwide. And through all of that growth, we've maintained an incredibly high standard of quality with our client and with the loans that we do. And surprise, surprise, really good borrowers, they do good loans and do good deals. And so if we just invest in them, then we're going to find ourselves where we want to be.
Well, and that's great. And this is not a sponsored Renovo podcast, although it could be, if you want to talk to the team about that. But that's one of the reasons why, I love you, James, and I've really gotten to enjoy getting to know you. And this podcast is about you, but I think out of the overflow of what you believe and what your company believes, you talk about the company. And so I'm thankful that you're here being able to talk to the company, because there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this that are looking for a lender, be it Chiavi or somebody else or Renovo. And so I'm thankful that we met and that we've gotten connected so that we can get to work together, because I also align. I think what was really important when we met, and we've talked about this, is like our core values align with each other. And when it comes to that, that's who you want to do business with, is the people that you align with as the core of who you are and how you run your business. And that's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Well, James, man, I thank you. I appreciate you for being on here. I appreciate your time coming from Austin to here to this flip, and the meetup that we're going to do in Durham. But man, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. And the house is beautiful, by the way. You guys did an awesome job. Super excited to be a part of all of your journey, as well as, as much as we can help. And but I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah. How can people find you and find Renovo, maybe?
RenovoFinancial.com is the website, but I'm on, LinkedIn is probably a pretty good way to get me, James Gaskin, and there's not too many of us out there, I think. So.
I don't think so. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate you.
Thank you.